Hi, guys. Welcome back to another episode of the Autism Our Story podcast. Today, I have the opportunity to chat with Olivia Rojo. She is an autism mom and she is praying through autism on Instagram. She is one of my good friends. We met on Instagram. I'm so excited to have her on today because she is just an amazing advocate and she shares such important information on her page. So today we're going to be talking all about her autism journey and what she's been doing to help her daughter have a better quality of life. Olivia, thank you so much for joining me. I'm so excited to chat with you today. I'm going to give you the opportunity to introduce yourself and we'll start from there.
Hi, my name is Olivia, on Instagram, praying through autism. And I am the mother of two girls, one of them being non-speaking and autistic. I used to be a former teacher, and now I'm a full-time 24/7 caregiver.
Awesome. I am just so excited that we finally get to do this interview. We've been planning for a long time.
Yes.
I know that this was when it was meant to happen. Like, this is the right time.
I agree.
So, yes, and I'm so excited for us to get into all of the things. For anyone who's listening, this one's going to be a real one. And we both feel like, I mean, for myself, I've just been feeling so much stronger in speaking up about certain things. And Olivia has always inspired me to, strengthen myself. Like, I've seen her, how she expresses herself and her passion for advocating for her daughter. It's just so inspiring to me. And so
Thank you. Pain will do that to you.
Oh, yes, and it pushes us to get stronger, right? And to just go for it. And as a mother, I've always been so shy but I've worked myself to a place where I feel like, okay, so I wanted to bring you on to do just like what you always do. You're always, on point and like no playing games here. So this is how this interview is going to go. So today we're going to talk about your autism journey. So let's just get right into it. Please share a little bit about how your autism journey started.
Okay, but before I do that, don't sell yourself short. You may be shy, but you're fierce. And you have inspired me when it comes to my spelling journey. I mean, I have started that, but I still need to take care of other things when it comes to my daughter, regulation-wise, because of everything that's going on with her. So just letting you know, you inspire me as well. And I cannot wait until you help me with that. So once we can get to that.
Yes.
Well, to begin, to be honest, I never imagined myself living this life at all whatsoever. I used to be an inclusion teacher, so that in itself made me feel that my journey, once it entered into autism, was going to be, not that it wasn't going to be hard, but that I would be able to handle it. Being an inclusion teacher taught me nothing when it comes to parenting a child with autism. So for me, honestly, it started with my first daughter, who's older. As a new time mom, I did what you're supposed to do. Go to the wellness visits, listen to what the doctors tell you. And with her, in one of those wellness visits, that same day at night, she began to lose her speech. We used to practice the ABCs and her name and everything in the bath. And after that wellness visit, that night, during her bath time, I was like, okay, let's practice your ABCs. Let's practice your name. And her name it has Layla. So you hear the L. And, her last name also has like really strong R's. And when we were doing that, she started to go, ugh. And I was like, okay, let's try this again. She could no longer say her L's. She could no longer say her R's like she used to. And we used to do it again every night. So I found that kind of odd, right? Alarming, because I was like, well, maybe it's just tonight. She's tired. Next day, same thing. I called her pediatrician and I expressed these concerns. And they said that, the fact that she had received her vaccines that day had nothing to do with this regression, that sometimes when kids are obtaining a new skill, they lose other skills, but then those skills come back later. That's just kind of how the brain works. So obviously, as a new time mom, I trusted that, right? I was like, okay, her speech never went back to the way it was before. Then came a year later, and we now have Leah, right? And it was time for that same exact wellness visit. And I, of course, had concerns, even though they kept brushing them off. They kept telling me that nothing, it didn't correlate with my first daughter. I brought those concerns up when it was time. I mean, they're only 16 months apart, so that came pretty fast, her turn. And again, I was told one thing had nothing to do with the other. She will be fine. She's developing completely normal, and that's not going to interfere. In fact, it's going to protect her. Okay. Still couldn't shake that feeling. And you know what that mother's intuition is like. It's very
Yes.
loud. It stirs your stomach. You feel it right here, and you can't stop thinking about it. So then that day, when the time came for her to get, and I'm going to say the exact vaccine, the MMR, which is a live attuned virus, which I did not know back then, I told her, you know what? I don't want to do it. I do not want to do it. I can't shake this feeling. And she told me, well, just keep in mind that if you do not, give her the MMR today, you are putting her at danger, other children in danger. And I cannot keep you in my practice if you're going to be this dangerous, pretty much, and make these type of decisions. So she made me feel this big. She completely just, made me feel like the worst mom. And I told her, you know what? I'll be back. Let me think about it again. So then on the next appointment, driving over there, I was crying. I felt the conviction and felt so much just not nausea from going to this appointment. My mother's intuition was loud, and I had made up my mind completely that I wasn't going to do it. And then she told me the exact same things again. And then she told me, look, do you not realize that you're putting other children in danger? Do you really want to hold that responsibility of doing that? That's the one that got me, and I was like, fine, you know what? I don't want to be that person that puts other people in danger. I did not understand, that vaccines had severe side effects. I just simply wanted to wait. I wanted to space them out because of what happened with my other daughter, which was
Yeah.
already a red flag. And I didn't know that at the moment. So I said, okay, fine. You're going to give her the MMR, but you're not going to give her any other boosters. You're not going to give her anything else but that. And the rest we're going to space out later. She gave her the MMR, and she ended up with a fever, lethargic, all of that. What did I give her because of the fever? Tylenol, because that's what you're told to give. And I actually think I even allowed them to give her Tylenol before they gave her the MMR because of the pain, and I wanted to reduce her pain and all of that. What ended up happening was what I always felt would. She started regressing week by week by week. Skills lost week by week by week. And I mean, I will never forget like recording those moments and honestly going into a forum of moms saying, I feel like I'm losing my daughter, and I was like, she's no longer responding to her name. She's looking through me. She's starting to not want to eat the foods. I feel like I'm losing her to autism. And even in that mom group, I was told like, she's too little, like it's okay. Sometimes kids go through these things, don't worry. So yeah, that's where it all started for me. And I will always regret not listening to my mother's intuition, which I mean, it was very loud. And I let a doctor make me feel like a bad mom when my inner body was connecting to hers because of the different gene mutations that we carry. And it
Yeah.
was very loud, and it was informing me like alert. And
Yeah.
I didn't know that back then, that gene mutations or variants had anything to do with being at a higher risk, for having some sort of reaction or anything of that sort. But now I had to learn all that. So that's where it started specifically for me.
Wow. And the thing that is more frustrating is how they made you feel like a bad mom. Like,
Yes.
I
A
feel
bad
like,
person, for society, pretty much.
that's awful. Absolutely. Just, it makes me so mad. I went through it, and I know a lot of other moms have gone through it, and it's not fair.
It's not.
Um, I've had a doctor tell me, sit me down when I was trying to stop vaccinations for my second born after Kyler. He was a big brother now, and I had just had this baby, my third born, and I was going to stop vaccines because my mother's intuition kept saying, you need to protect this one. And I had tried to listen, and I was so sure I was going to do it. Got to the doctor, he told them no, and he set me down and said, do you want your baby to die? And was it just exaggerating? The thing that made me a red flag was, do you want to bring your baby to the cemetery? Do you know there are cemeteries with babies that are dead because their mothers did not vaccinate their kids? And I felt like he was really manipulating. Like my
Gosh,
eyes were open now. I was like, wow, how could you ever? Like, this is not right.
no. And the
And
worst part is you realize that they get paid extra or they get pretty much commission, believe it or not, incentives. So that's what upsets them because we can, by denying, which again, I didn't know back then, you can mess with those incentives, and to say that to you, like to
yeah,
mention death for
I could
what?
not, I can't believe it. And
That's
from since
manipulation.
then,
Oh my
we're
God.
still there, but I've never wanted to see him again. Never, ever. I told my husband, I was like, that doctor is a no no. Like, how could he do that? But, anyways, with that baby, that day he ended up being vaccinated against my wish. The thing I would like to even talk about is how hard it is for moms who how this whole situation with vaccines is when a mother is listening to her intuition, and how it's hard when because society has been trained to trust the doctors, to trust the experts, that these vaccines are safe and effective and they're supposed to help our kids. My husband innocently was trusting them because this is the pediatrician that he knows, he grew up with, and their whole family has been there. And this has never happened in the family that Kyler, how Kyler became severely autistic in both of our sides of our family. And so, anyways, my husband was trusting, and that's why we would clash. And that's something that I felt very lonely in. I feel like a lot of families might be going through it, but they don't talk about it.
No,
I'm
they
not trying
don't.
to talk bad about my husband, but I'm just trying to say, like, he was trusting of that, and we would argue because I would say, let's stop vaccinating because I'm feeling my intuition is telling me, and he's like, no, we need to vaccinate because we need to protect our baby. You can see how hard that is, right? So that's what was happening. And anyways, my husband was showed up at the pediatrician and was like, we need to vaccinate the baby. And I was like, no, let's talk about it. Let's space him out. He's just like, no, he's trying to protect his baby. But so unfortunately, baby was vaccinated. And a couple of months after, my third born had constipation, chronic constipation, that I knew deep down it was because of those vaccines that day.
And you're
And
absolutely right. You're right. And that's the thing because I mean, now, like forward into my journey, I have heard from so many moms that have worked with a GI doctor that works with only autistic children and decided to believe exactly what you're saying, right? How the gut can also take a huge hit. And they have found, for example, many of them, usually the culprit has been the measles in the stomach of those
oh,
children. It all started with a vaccine, and that's the thing that people do not understand, that they don't just give you immunity. I mean, they do, right? But for some it's immunity
they're
and
putting
immune
that value.
dysfunction, dysregulation. Yes, if you cannot metabolize, if you can't detox properly. But there's already legit proof out there that they have found the measles in these babies intestines. And this is a GI doctor that works with only autistic kids, but mothers are too afraid to say that out loud because of the way that everybody receives this information. So just the fact that you've been mentioning constipation, my child also got constipated, colicky, so many things that like she wasn't even before, and we didn't struggle with constipation. So I mean, sorry to interrupt you on that one, but I wanted to validate your intuition in what you just said because it had something to do with it. No matter what anybody tells you, it
Oh
did.
yeah, yeah. I mean, nobody could tell you nothing. Nobody could tell
No.
me that was not the vaccines because I know what happened that day. And one thing I want to just mention is I've always, like, that day I knew that was the devil trying to intervene. The devil is after our children from an early age. Okay,
Absolutely.
that day I knew the devil intervened to try to make sure that baby got vaccinated because my husband he was at a work. He works around this. He'll travel with work. They do construction, and he showed up at the pediatrician because he had seen my car where he passes by to go back to his office, and he's like, "Oh, Nicole is at the pediatrician. I'm gonna go help her with the babies." He showed up right after I talked to the doctor. He just shows up in the room. I'm like, "What are you doing here?" I was like, "Oh, I just saw your car and I wanted to help you." And yeah, and then
No,
when he's
and you're right. He'll
um
show up as an angel of light, and there he was thinking he's going to help, and he obviously had no ill intentions because
no, he was
he wanted to do
trusting.
the right thing, trusting.
He
And
wanted
going
to do
back
the
to
right
that,
thing.
like, people, we mentioned this, right? But people don't realize that the main person that actually oversaw vaccines, that cleared them for distribution, the immunologist or vaccinologist, he's an atheist. Okay, he is an atheist. He tried to get rid of religious exemptions. He would get upset about that. And not only that, but you start realizing that there's aborted, like, fetal, like
Yeah,
literally pieces of babies in these vaccines, and people are like, oh well, that was from back then, and then they
it's the
just
same.
reuse like the same. No, they're finding more things when it comes to
Mhm.
that. It sounds crazy, and then now that I know that it's a fact, that's why I don't mind speaking about it. They're finding animal intestines, parts, things that people have no idea are in these things, and you inject them into an innocent little body that was completely beautifully and wonderfully made by God, and we're putting all these things, and people just what think this is going to protect them. No, there's so much more into it that
Yeah,
happens, that people, I don't think, have the veil has been removed,
yeah,
or maybe they're just protecting their fear, protecting their ego, not wanting to be wrong. But
yeah,
it is insane, the amount of the ingredients that are in these things, that it's just we're playing Russian roulette pretty much with our
yeah.
children. That's what we're doing.
It's taking a shot in the dark and seeing where it will land, and it's not worth it. It is not.
No,
Like,
and no,
some
and you're
moms.
right, because I heard that whisper when I went to say no. You're a bad mom. And that's the enemy. He will attack you. You're a bad mom. You look like a crazy lady now, and you start hearing
Mhm.
those thoughts, and he takes advantage of that moment, and those are not your thoughts.
Yeah,
And some of us unfortunately gave in because of
yeah,
that.
yeah. That's just up. So I hope that people start to wake up and see this and understand that really this is a spiritual thing. Like, I've now been able to see that a lot of the things happening are spiritual. The
They are.
devil is after our kids. And like the other day, I was in the shower, and like that's where all my revelations will come in. It was so clear and it made so much sense. And then sometimes I don't feel like I do it justice with how I explain it because it comes in so clear and it's a clump of information and you don't know how to, because English is not my first.
Articulated.
Yeah, but what I felt that day was the devil has been trying to silence our kids from an early age. Okay, from the beginning when they regress and because of everything, he's silencing them. And then for us, for me in the journey, for us in the journey of spelling, spelling is being attacked the very same way that vaccines are being attacked. Speller moms are being called crazy, delusional, bad moms for whatever because we're trying to help our babies
Communicate.
find their voices. But
Hmm.
the same way they're being attacked. And that came in and it was like the devil is after their voice. What these kids have to share with the world must be so magnificent. And spellers talk only about God and they share light and they're just this. And I just know that the devil is afraid of that. Imagine all these kids that have been silenced, what they could be telling us,
What they see in the
what they're
spiritual.
here to share. Yes.
And I'm going to be honest with you, like, during my walk with God, because I would say I'm really, like, now, and like walking with him closely for like 2 years, I did a fast. Like, sometimes I'll fast to see what I should talk about or post, but I did like a 7-day fast, and I just started journaling, like, and I would ask, what do you want me to hear, to see? And there was one in my notebook where I wrote that I feel a lot of these spellers are they have prophecies that they will tell us,
Yeah.
that they're being silenced because, or attacked in all the areas that you're talking about, because they have prophecies that they will speak, and that is being attacked. And I don't think people realize just how spiritual this is, especially now. I mean, there's things that are happening that are in Revelations. And people, if you have not read Revelations, you have not read the Bible, please start with that, especially right now. And that's what came to me. They're being, completely silenced because there will be many that are prophets that will be saying things that, and they're the perfect target. They will not be believed. Why? Because spelling is being attacked. Because their moms, they're saying moms are manipulating what they have to say because
Mm-hmm.
of what they do on the outside. They
Yeah. People
they
trust their bodies.
exactly. But that really teaches you, you know, who God will use. And though that's like the like type of stuff that has been revealed to me during my fasts. So I completely agree with you. And I remember during like our spelling, because I got trained to be like her partner, a
Yeah.
lot of the moms were messaging each other about things that were happening. Like again, we were getting attacked in the sense of things stopping us from being able to spell with our kids, our minds, their dysregulations, internet not working, things that just were out of hand. So just wanted to contribute to that
Wow.
too, because you're absolutely right. And if you notice, we're all somehow aligned in this.
Yes, we are. And I love how our kids, like I have goosebumps, our kids have connected all of us because they know we we're it's a lonely place to be.
It is.
It seems like we're been separated again. So imagine being in a community where you feel like you all the autism community, right? And then all of a sudden you feel lonely around other autism moms. That I
I
have
think
that
that's a different level of lonely, right?
that
Like
is.
you can join the autism community. To be honest, when I opened my account, I thought it was going to be like kumbaya. All the autism moms are
Yeah.
going to add each other. They know that you're an autism mom, so they add you, you add them, and it's just like this beautiful friendship that's going to build of so many, and I'm going to meet so many of them from everywhere, which has happened. Don't get me wrong,
Yeah.
and some amazing ones like you, but then it's just like whoa, like then you get the
Yeah.
other, the
Mm-hmm.
intra group, there's a name for it, intra group discrimination, which is like
Oh,
within the group you're discriminated. Why?
absolutely.
Because they don't agree with your journey, you know they don't
Because
agree
it
with your
makes
journey.
it's uncomfortable when we talk about real stuff.
Yeah.
I feel like in the community, there's the thing of like toxic positivity or like trying to make it seem
Virtue
like
signaling.
everything, yes, make it seem like everything's fine and, you know, make it seem like you have it all together when we are all going, if we are the same kind of we have the same kind of autism, we're all going through the same things in the background. Like we don't, most
Absolutely.
things we don't talk about. Like, how can you then pretend like everything is fine? Like I can't. For a long time, I fell into that. I'm not gonna lie. I fell into it because I just wanted to be liked and I just wanted to be a part of it. And I was just like, okay, things are beautiful over here. No. And then just lately, last year was the year that I was like, okay, like that it's not even me, the spirit inside me, my intuition,
Same.
like God was just like, you need to be real with yourself so that you can heal. Because I was struggling because it's hard. It's
It is
hard
very
work
hard.
trying to pretend things are okay when they're not.
No, absolutely. And it's exhausting. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like and at first, before I started kind of being more vocal about this, I was the same. And even having that background as an inclusion teacher, I kind of, I'm sorry to use this term, but I'm going to be real, surface-based advocacy,
Yeah.
about sensory items, sensory toys,
I call it
headphones and
lukewarm
yeah,
advocacy.
which is my favorite, lukewarm advocacy, like just like the same repetitive things of, like autism doesn't have a look, and just the same things you hear over and over that in reality teach nothing. They
Yeah.
teach nothing. And that I fell into that, trying to use like my teacher background and things, how I used to support students. But then when I was thrown upon this journey, and that whole concept of like always knowing like that vaccines had something to do with this. And I remember just you can't get that out of your head, and I also went through a lot because of that, a lot of guilt,
Yeah.
dove into alcohol, which I've mentioned before, functioning though, but just to numb that pain, throwing myself in at work, like with my students, because I had, like half of them had IEP, so I was obsessively trying to help them and try to save them because I couldn't save my child, because I deep inside knew what happened, even though people would say, it's no, that's not what happened. But
Yeah.
then you see that it happens to two other kids in the same side of the family with the exact same wellness visit, with the exact same vaccine. I
Yeah.
mean, and we go back to the spiritual aspect. This is a pastoral family. These, these are grandkids of pastors.
Yeah.
And there's been three of them that regressed after the MMR, one of them already having Down syndrome. You cannot tell me that is normal. You can,
Yeah.
when we go back to, say, people want to say genetics, right? They want to say, okay, maybe neurodivergence may run in the family, but why are they the only severe kids? We
Yeah.
can go back and back and back and back. There is no severe autism
In
besides
the
them,
family.
and
That's
they
our.
regressed, and then one with Down syndrome. So to be honest, I kind of fell at first into the whole genetics aspect of maybe, it runs in the family, because of that, because that's not normal. Like these are cousins. And then now that we took a whole genome sequencing test, which is a full on genetic test on both sides of their dad and me, there's no genes for autism. Like the actual genetic autism, zero, none, not even on his side, which again, his siblings have autistic kids too. And it was like, wow. And the geneticist told me, I've never seen autism present itself with this mutation or variant. She was like in shock. And with us, what came out is something called MMUT, which is, it's like a gene that, it's an enzyme, like on that side and on my side, they combined. And it's an enzyme that is abnormally slow, which you need enzymes to function properly to metabolize. That enzyme works slow, on his side, but adding my struggle is when stressed, it works slower. So she inherited
Mm.
that from both of us, which doesn't allow B12 to reach the brain.
Yeah.
This should have been caught when she had her heel prick. Like when the babies, when they're
In the
born, they
beginning.
at the
Yeah.
beginning, but she came out negative for that. Why? Because this gene mutation was asymptomatic. It was turned off. Yes, we carry it, but it got turned on after the
Yeah.
immune, trigger. What was the immune trigger? And that's the thing that people don't understand, that an immune trigger, it's the only thing that alters your immune system, vaccines, right? So
Yes.
when you get a vaccine, it alters your immune system. Your system can get confused. And that's what I
Yeah.
think people, with all due respect to some, don't have the capacity to understand. Some just let their ego come in and there's no way I'm wrong.
Yeah.
Some are scared to face, like, so you're telling me my child is this way because of this. For some, I'm
It's.
not saying all.
Mhm.
Yeah, yes. Why? Because again, it's not as simple as vaccines cause autism. It's vaccines can cause immune dysfunction or dysregulation. The immune system can get confused. The immune system then starts attacking, or it stays at war, right? And that's what happened with my kid. And I have proof of that. How? Because I did not accept that during puberty, her behaviors escalated, Nicole, to a point where we were in such a dark place. And that's what I want people to understand. Like right now, I see a lot of moms, kumbaya while their kid is little and they accept autism because we all mourn, but then we rise and we become, fierce autism moms.
Mhm.
But for some, puberty is going to rock your world. Do I wish that upon anybody? No. Why? Because puberty alters your immune system again. So if you have a child that you haven't investigated that actually has things going on, and I'm going to use my little wheel here, because in biomed, this is what they look at when it comes to a child that's autistic. They look at their mitochondria, their gut, their immune system. They check for infections, and they also check their metabolic system, right? Nobody does that when our kids are diagnosed. They don't check any of that. It's just observe the outer behaviors, check, check, check.
Yes.
It's autism. Here's a pamphlet. Here's a packet. Be on your way. And so, once things got very hard for us after puberty, I either had to accept what we were seeing, which was my daughter attacking her sister to the point to where her sister was like, Mom, when is she going to stop? I can't take this anymore. Flinching when she would walk by, her sister. And it's because puberty exasperated or turned up the volume to everything that was already wrong. This
Yes.
is autism in functional and biomedical medicine. This is what they look at. And what makes me sad is I see all these, young moms with the young kids who can steer away a mom that knows what happened to her kid, right? You feel it. And she will not explore it deeper because she wants to stay within the community on
And
what.
being told just love your baby. I don't
Yes,
like that. Sorry.
kind of like the Mean Girls, right? You can't sit with us. Have you seen that movie
Yeah.
Mean Girls? You can't sit with us, like in
Yeah.
club, and that's what makes me so sad, because if I would have looked deeper sooner, she wouldn't be this severe. So many children are not living their true neurotype. Severity has a lot to do with this. And this is everything. My child, biomedical and functional medicine will tell you that over 50% of autistic children that are moderate to high needs have 4 to 5 underlying medical conditions, right? My child fits that. She has literally something wrong in every single category of this wheel. And mainstream doesn't recognize that. They don't look for it. They're not aware. They're not taught. And all these things that are wrong that I showed on that wheel contribute to the severity. Some kids are not supposed to be as severe as they are. But because
Yes.
nobody investigates this, they're there. Their body is suffering. Their brain is suffering, gut on fire, brain on fire. And all they're given is antipsychotics, mood stabilizers, especially during puberty, because that's when things alter. Nobody teaches you that during puberty, it's an immune like alteration of your body, hormones, everything in place.
Yes.
And back to my point, it makes me sad because I wish I would have investigated sooner. And there's all these moms that their kids are 3, 4, 5. Go look
Right.
before you
Yes.
accept,
I love it because that's
investigate.
where I'm.
Yes, before you accept. Because if this is the what autism is when it comes to biomedical and functional medicine, meaning the whole child, they look at the whole system. If you have not investigated that, then how do you know, or how do you not know? Don't
Exactly.
accept, investigate first.
I was just thinking about that this morning. Like, imagine you're a child. I'm going to share what some spellers have shared about the day they've been vaccinated. They remember and they
Ah,
talk about it. And they'll say, I remember the day my head felt, you said brain on fire. They'd say the exact same thing. Their brain was on fire. They couldn't imagine feeling your brain just on fire and whatever else is happening, and you can't tell your parents. And now imagine your parent is celebrating their autism, right?
exactly.
While you're suffering. I don't think that is right. I'm all
No,
for, us. Yes, we celebrate the things that they
the inch stones.
overcome. Yes, because
Absolutely.
it's never like easy, just like a neurotypical child, but they overcome a lot. My
They
son
do.
has come a long way, and I love to celebrate that. But I cannot celebrate all of autism because I
No,
know the things that I don't share online. And I'm the only one who knows that. And if I ever shared, people would call me a bad mom or whatever. But it's not
absolutely. You
right.
you get attacked either way, right? And I mean, like yesterday I sent you a video of one of our lowest points. I don't share any of those, man, but do I have so many videos? Why? Because I show them to the doctor,
Yeah.
and I mean, I'm talking about like having scratches all over my arms, my hands, even almost in my eye, like bruises. Like it got to a point where I was like, okay, like I know we went through regressions, and first of all, regression is not normal. It's not
Yeah.
normal, when they're babies, and it's not normal if it happens again later, and then during puberty. And another thing is during puberty, they can regress, and many will, and they don't teach you that. So it got so bad that I took her to the ER. Like, what if she's having silent seizures? Like, I feel like I'm losing my child again, despite her, being autistic. This is not her. That's a problem. A lot of people in the autism community, they have taken autism as an identity. Why? Because honestly, I'm sorry to say, they don't know who they are. They don't know who they are in
Yeah.
Christ. They don't know who they are meant to be. So they grab autism and they use it as an identity, just, to say that's who they are. But no, autism is a disability, right? For some, very debilitating. Pain has nothing to do with personality. Suffering has nothing to do with personality. And, if you don't go through that, well, it's because honestly, like, yeah, I get it. You're labeled autistic, but years ago you wouldn't even qualify to be as
To
autistic.
be
Let's be
autistic,
real.
it's
And
not the same.
no, and they've changed that into an identity. And it has really affected children like ours, right?
Yes, it takes
And
away from their pain, their real struggles. The ones who are
absolutely
actually struggling, when they come out and say, "I can't celebrate this," you're called a bad parent.
ableist,
Yeah,
you
but
know,
but the ones that have the quirky kind, the fun kind, you know, they get to celebrate it. But we're
having
not the
autism
same.
reveal parties.
We're not the same. Oh yeah,
No,
those.
no. We I mean we're not the same. And yesterday I read a comment that said, speaking about suffering is just a strategy to divide us. Huh? Really? It's
Because
like,
you're the happy ones and we're the sad ones. We're the
yeah,
ones who
like,
want us to.
no. And I'm like, first of all, you would have not been considered autistic years ago. And when I talk about this, I don't just center my child, because I have a cousin with profound autism that's 30 something years old. My mom was his caregiver, paid caregiver. My other aunt is also his paid caregiver. And then there's his mom. So three sisters have been part of that. You know, she's been blessed in that sense that it's been family who's taken care of him.
Yeah.
And people right away, oh, so autism runs in your family. You see profound autism runs in your family. Actually, no. On his dad's family, which is my uncle by law, yeah, neurodivergence does run in the family. He has a nephew who is, now autistic level 1, you could say.
Mhm.
But with my cousin, an infection crossed his blood-brain barrier while my aunt was pregnant. So that right there, we go back to the same thing. Like, I'm a very, very good at patterns, right? And when my mom told me about that, look at the wheel: infections, autism, that can contribute to the severity. And for him, that's what happened. He is so severe that it's because an infection crossed his blood-brain barrier and it contributed to that. So remembering that and seeing what I went through with my daughter, and just how things escalated so bad, I was like, what if she has an infection that I'm not aware of,
Yeah.
even though she's not sick, right? And I started just putting pieces together. And sure enough, she again has something wrong in every single category. Chronic constipation is not normal. Are kids hitting you, scratching you? It's not because they're severely autistic. No, it's because their body's crying for help. Their brain is crying for help. It's exactly like the speakers, the non-speakers you were talking about, the spellers.
Yeah.
I remember seeing a video, and it was actually, way back then, about biomed. And when a child started to speak, he told his mom, "Thank you for never giving up on me, because I felt like my brain was on fire the whole time. And that's why I was mean. That's why I would hit you." And I can't find that video anymore. And it was like years ago, when my daughter was like 3 years old, 4.
Yeah.
And that's what started planting seeds. So going back, to the spellers, please share what else they have, like, told
Yeah.
mothers.
Yeah, I mean, they've just what the one time somebody had shared it on Facebook, just like, please share what your spellers have told you. It was just the main thing that they would all share. All of them would talk about how, a lot of different change. I can't remember everything, but the thing that caught my attention more was how they all say their brain was on fire. They were in so much pain. They remembered the change, the day. Someone is saying, I remember the day my I mean, it was, they can be poetic too in how they share
Yes, the
things.
way they, but
It
it all
was just
tied to
so,
that day. They were able to articulate, and
oh
knowing
yeah,
it's
the
like,
exact day, even when they're babies. Okay, that's crazy.
and yeah, and we go back to the same thing. Like, why are they being so targeted right now? Why is spelling being so targeted right now?
Because they might share.
Because if they, exactly, if they speak on this, and like, I'll give you like a testimony spiritually as well. When I started going hard on talking about this, I had like, I don't want to say dream, maybe it was a dream, but it was like a sleep paralysis, where
Mhm.
I dreamt that I went to go check on my daughter. Her room is like across mine, and it was dark, it was nighttime. I opened the door, or I tried to open the door, and something closed it. And I was like trying to open the door, and I could hear like growling and like things inside her room, and I'm trying to get to her, and I was being laughed at, and it sounded like entities, like scary type of things. And then I all of a sudden got paralyzed, and something was holding me and went like this to my mouth, and I couldn't speak, and I just was trapped. And then I said Jesus. I was able to say Jesus, and I was released, and I was able to open the door. This is spiritual. It is. People may not want to, believe it, remove the veil, But to every conference that I've been to, if it's TACA, the Autism Community in Action, people who have gone, down to the biomed or functional medicine, they all talk about God. They talk about Jesus. They talk about faith. And
Yeah.
it's really a battle here that we're facing when it comes to autism, because it's being overused as a diagnosis when kids are suffering with autoimmune encephalitis, with pandas, with neuroinflammation, so many things that they just slap the label. That way, like, if we caused it, no one's going to know, like
Yeah.
that's how they cover and protect themselves. And
Yeah.
people will defend the label more than defend the child behind it.
And people forget that these vaccine and manufacturers have put in place things that will make them not be able to be liable if their vaccines hurt a child or anyone. People
Exactly.
don't know that. It's
No, and
just
why did that happen? Because they kept getting sued. Why did they keep
yeah.
getting sued? And then I'll mention this here too, which I've spoken about her. There is a case from, I think it was I don't know if it was the 90s or 2003, of Hannah Poling, where it took years. And her dad, thankfully, was a neurologist, so he was a doctor.
Mm,
She regressed, and he's like, she regressed after vaccines, after the MMR. It took them years to prove that actually it was the vaccines. But people will say, like, no, well, it led to an autism diagnosis because she had a mitochondrial disease underlying. Well, guess what? 80% of our children with autism have mitochondrial dysfunction. You know what I mean? Like, and people will
yeah.
still argue, and I'm like, her case, literally, she won. But they've been trying to hide that case, and for you to not find it on YouTube and all of that. And that's the thing. Again, we go back to the little wheel again. What does it say here? Mitochondrial. Just,
Yeah.
and that's why she became severely autistic too, because she had like mitochondrial dysfunction, or her mitochondria, which basically is like the energy in your body and your cells and in your brain. It was not, there was nothing wrong with it. It just maybe worked a little bit slower. And again, 80% of autistic kids have mitochondrial dysfunction. So to anybody out there too that wants to say, well, my kids has autism and I didn't vaccinate. I'm like, the literalness is very hard to sometimes deal with. I'm like, because vaccines also falls under the toxic load, the environmental, toxic umbrella. I've met
Yeah.
mothers who their child full of lead. That's why their child, regressed or was severely autistic. Other mothers, they investigated mold. Mold is an epidemic that's not being talked about enough. Other mothers, something to do with the gut. One of the doctors at TACA talked about how for some children, simply changing their diet, removing gluten, casein, dairy, because believe it or not, like dairy can act or gluten like an opioid that makes you kind of like,
Yes. It just wants
like
more.
drunk in the brain, and you're just like stimming, and you're just kind of like, a little in your own world, and people don't know that. But just by those changes, for some children, they lost their autism diagnosis. Is that curing autism? No, that is
No.
helping a child and investigating so you help in the areas they need help in. I don't understand why people choose to get offended. And it's like autism is like it become their idol. It's idolatry at this point, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah. So true. One day I had the realization that because I was being so attacked in the video that I shared of Kyler and how his vaccine injury, I just, like I said, it was that same day that I was telling you I was getting all these revelations. Things were coming in so clear. And it was clear that because why would anybody attack me for sharing my own story, my own lived
Your
experience?
journey. Yeah.
It didn't make sense, but it made sense when I thought of it as this is a spiritual battle. It feels like something happens in the spiritual when you're talking about when you're sharing truth and exposing the devil and exposing truth that the devil is after our kids. And it feels like something happens in the spiritual realm that muffles everything you're saying and makes it so that person cannot hear anything you're saying. Like they lose the ability to be even compassionate, to have
Mm-hmm.
natural, realistic, like
Absolutely.
natural and natural reaction to what you're sharing. Like you should be feeling bad or kind of like be
They
understanding at least.
they hear what you're not saying. It's distorted. And believe it or not, like that is actually spiritual. And like there's it's something that they carry that doesn't allow them to hear the correct things. They hear what you're not saying. They could, or they're just listening to react or to argue. They literally did not like perspective take anything that
Mhm.
you shared. And it's crazy because I still go through the same thing having proof. So on the proof side, that's why I became more confident in speaking about this, going to a MAPS doctor, someone who's certified with the Medical Academy of Pediatrics and Special Needs. I shared my story. She literally spent like 4 hours with us, and she's like, I want to see all the videos and the timeline. I want to see her vaccine schedule. And we sat there and we mapped everything out. She looked at every video, every picture and she matched them to like the vaccine schedule and everything. She was so upset that, okay, so when my daughter received the MMR, she's like, did you know they also put the varicella in there? And I'm like, what do you mean? She's like, she got the 4-in-1, meaning measles, mumps, rubella, and varicella. I'm like, she told me it was just the MMR. She's like,
Oh
no,
my
she got the
goodness.
4-in-1. And I'm like, okay. And she's like, all of those are live attuned viruses. She's like, she was already mad about that. And then she's like, wait a minute. 28 days later, she's like, they gave her the flu, hepatitis A, pneumococcal. She's like, they didn't even wait 30 days. And I'm like, I don't remember that. She's like, did they call you in that it was flu season, that the flu was an all-time high, and that, for you to go get the flu shot to protect her from the flu because this flu was, one of the worst they've seen? I'm like, yes, actually they did. And I got scared. She's like, that's when they added the other ones. They boosted the other ones. And she's like, they didn't even wait 20 days for her immune system to calm down from 4 live attuned viruses. And they stacked her with these others. And so she's like, look at the timing. She's like, so when they stacked her with these others, this is when the regression happened. So when people say, like, oh, the MMR caused autism, okay, this is what I want to clarify. It was the tipping point, right? A tipping point is like, okay, that's when the struggle kind of happened. And then the other one stacked on top completely just, that's when I lost her. And that's what people need to understand. It led to
Yeah.
immune dysfunction, immune dysregulation. It messed with her gut. On top of having, now that I know, 2 abnormal MTHFR gene mutations that struggle with detoxing, with metabolizing, so many things. And that's what people need to comprehend, And so now we did blood work, and I told her, I was like, I've been trying to tell her neurologist, her mainstream neurologist, to check, the measles count, the rubella count, the mumps, things that I've learned along the way. And her neurologist mainstream was like, there's no point. She's going to come up positive because she had the MMR. And I'm like, okay. So I was like, okay. Then our MAPS doctor, which is trained for special needs, she's like, yes, but how high are those antibodies? That
Yeah.
matters. So she tested all that. It came out that her measles antibodies is at 800 and she is 10. She got this vaccine when she was almost 2, meaning
Oh
it's
my
like
goodness.
abnormally high. Those antibodies have never turned off. They've been literally attacking healthy proteins. There's something called molecular cell mimicry, meaning that the immune system got confused, and it's like, well, you look like what I'm supposed to attack, so I'm going to attack you. So it started attacking things it wasn't supposed to, and led to the regression and led to a cascade, like the perfect storm of her immune system has been at war. It's basically open portals for more infections, for
Yeah.
other struggles, because it hasn't been healthy in years. So it's a cascade of things that just happens. We go back also now to COVID. COVID, another thing that, let's say, was an attack on us, on humanity.
Yeah.
Her COVID antibodies are at 3,000. They're supposed to be at 13.
Oh my
She didn't get
goodness.
the COVID shot, but because her immune system has been in dysfunction for so long, COVID spike proteins have been attacking her immune system as well. All that was going on during puberty because the volume went up, because again,
Yeah.
puberty caused another immune change in her body. And if I wouldn't have investigated this, I would have just given her antipsychotics, mood stabilizer, which is what they wanted me to do. But instead, she was suffering and still is. It's going to take a lot of hard work to clear all this out. Strep is another one that's still there that never cleared properly, and it led to PANS-PANDAS, which is like a pediatric autoimmune psychiatric type of disorder.
Yeah.
But the tipping point was the live attuned virus vaccines. She's, it just all kind of, and that's what people need to understand, that there's so much more that plays into this.
Yeah.
And honestly, I'm so excited to go to the Autism Summit, where I'm going to see Del Bigtree speak, Erin Siri, which has been, in
Yeah.
deposition,
I love them.
against vaccines. And I'm going to get to see them speak in person because I've lived this and I have the labs to prove it.
Yeah.
And I asked her MAPS doctor, so does Leah have autism? She's like, no, she has autoimmune encephalitis. And she's like, and this is where it started. So, I mean, to any doubters out there, why are you still doubting? I have the labs. I have everything. I have a doctor who is a neuroimmune specialist who has confirmed all this. Why do you still doubt it? Is it your ego? Are you afraid to be wrong? Are you afraid to face the truth because your child didn't get vaccinated and still has autism? Okay, that's your story. That's not mine. You
Yes.
know? And again, perfect storm of environmental toxins. It could be other toxins that have contributed to what your child's going through. Or maybe your child does have genetic autism, which does exist.
It
But,
does.
people don't understand that this is the most toxic world we're living in. And at TACA, one of the doctors talked about that. So much so that it's changing how genes express themselves. You know,
Yeah.
it's just, there's so much that people, I hope, wake up too soon. And the medical neglect and abandonment that a lot of our children's have been dealing with
Yeah.
is just, it's criminal. It's criminal
Yes. It really is.
unless you go the biomed or functional medicine side, and you will seek and you will find.
Yes.
It's just what it is. And for anybody that wants to still defend the label more than the children suffering behind it, I challenge you, go investigate and then come back and talk to parents like me before you judge. That's
Yeah.
where the toxicity in the autism community can happen.
Can come in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I'm just so thankful that I've freed myself from that. I'm no longer, I refuse to be bullied into staying quiet anymore. I don't care. I'm going to speak what is true to me. And, you know, I have my people. I found you and
I
others
found
who,
you.
yes, and it's just so good to have people who understand, who get it, and who are not trying to pretend anymore. Like breaking free from that is empowering. I've
Liberating.
just, oh yes, very. It's just, I feel so much more like I can just say whatever. Before I would think of so many things. It would like you would have those moments of like I want to say this, I feel this, but I can't because people will come for me. Because I will lose these people that have been following me and being like, I don't care now anymore. I don't
Yeah.
care. Like,
And you know what, when you and I started talking more about the whole intergroup discrimination, the autism community feeling toxic, and I'm like, okay, sometimes you think like maybe it's just me being, like exaggerating or emotional, or am I really seeing this? Or so then I was like, I'm gonna try a little experiment. And I'm like, okay, I know early on before I started talking about this, there was a lot of moms that I would interact with. I'm talking about messaging each other and like, hyping each other up. And I was like, okay, this is a little experiment that I'm going to try here. If there is hypocrisy in the autism community, I can prove it. And how can I prove it? I'm going to go and check followers, and I'm going to check to see if all those moms that I used to really talk to and would show support, if they have unfollowed me, that tells me that it was never support, it was agreement, but they're no longer in agreement with me. So it was fake support. Because
yeah,
how can you support someone and then they remove their support just because they don't agree with your journey, which again, hello, I have the proof, honey.
proof.
Like, so anyways, I went and I'm like, I started thinking of moms that I'm like, I know are really not like aligned in thinking that vaccines could ever have anything to do with this because of what they share, what they say. And no longer there. Oh, no longer there. Oh, no longer there. Oh, no longer there. And I was like, wow, talk about
Wow.
hypocrisy. And
Yeah.
because then it was never support, it was agreement, and that's not real support. you
Yeah.
know and it's crazy because it's a lot of the community that talks about inclusion and acceptance, but all of a sudden some of us are no longer accepted because you don't agree with our
For
journey.
sharing your lived experience. It
Yeah,
just baffles me. I still can't
yeah,
believe it.
yeah, that's
And
that's what I say. I'm like, autism has become literally, it's idolatry at this point. You become so loyal to a label that you like,
there are certain
really?
things you can't say. Oh no, I don't like that. Sounds like
No,
what? I should
No,
be able
and
to
I'm
say
like,
anything I want. I should be able to come here and you meet me where I am and you see
yeah,
me because I'm a part of this. How I am. My story belongs the way it is. There's no censoring. There's no I hate where there's all these things that you can't say because if you say that you're an ableist or you're a bad mom. No. I should be
no,
able
I
to say
mean, and it's
whatever I
crazy
want.
because they're demonstrating ableism behavior against those of us that this is our journey. And all of a sudden it's like, oh, I don't support you anymore. I don't, like it's like that's you're doing what you don't want others to do. And to me, it is crazy as well. Cause I'm like, one of the biggest signs of someone's intelligence, emotional intelligence, or intelligence overall is being willing to maybe admit you're wrong, that you got it wrong, and change your perspective and then unlearn and relearn. And I have to say, it was very healing for me because I went to like a retreat. It's called She's Crown Ministry. And it's, for Christian women, moms that, are autism moms. And I had an encounter with one of the moms, Camille from Moments of Joy podcast, I believe
Mm-hmm.
it is. And she told me like that she's like, thank you for changing my perspective. She's like, because we had a long talk. It was beautiful. And that's how I think it should be, like where she's like, I didn't understand necessarily like, or agree with the things you would share or all those type of things. She's like, but now hearing you and actually getting like the facts, and she's like, I like, wow, like my perspective shifted, and thank you for that, because you didn't let yourself like be afraid to speak on these things, and it can change other people's perspectives. And I respect her for that. I respect people that are like, you know what, let me hear you out, and are willing to maybe like see, maybe that's not my journey, but I believe you, because I would
Yes.
want anybody to believe my mother's intuition about my child. How the hypocrisy to not believe my intuition, but you would want me to believe yours over your child.
Mm-hmm.
We're connected to our kids. What we speak about, what we know happened, it's for a purpose.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, so I was, it was very healing knowing like that I was able to actually change someone's mind about, certain things, and like, get curious. We should always stay curious. That is the key.
Yes. Yes, and we're here to learn from each other. And I've had those that kind of experience too. Even on my post, I remember one mom. I even took her little response to me and I highlighted it on a different post to just say this is what it's supposed to be. Because she said, you know, that's not what happened to me. I believe my child, his autism was genetic, but I believe you because moms know best.
Exactly.
Oh, that was like,
Absolutely.
thank you. Thank you. That's how
Yes.
it's supposed to be. And
And
I
it
have a
just,
friend, I think you know her, Elizabeth. Um,
yes.
her son was born that way. And she has never like questioned. She's so supportive and we're like close. And I love that. And that is what it's
Yes.
supposed to be. We should
Yes.
be able to just love each other and not ever be like feel attacked because I'm sharing my experience. Like, what is that? That
No.
is,
That's defending, again, we go back to the same thing, defending a label, its image, what you want it to represent, instead of the families or the child behind it. And that's the thing. I'm like, I don't, the ugliness of understanding that they have conditioned you or conditioned us to just accept autism and that's it. When there's so many kids that have that label, when it's autoimmune encephalitis, when it's brain on fire, when it's gut on fire, all of the above, when it's all these things. But they do that so you don't investigate, because guess what? They could have been part of what caused these things.
yes.
And imagine like if everyone woke up to that. So yeah,
Yeah.
autism can absolutely be genetic, but I even went to presentations with geneticists. It's 20% genetic, real true autism. The 80% is due to environmental factors and triggers. It could be immune triggers such as vaccines. It can be your environment. It could be mold. It could be lead. It
The
could be
food,
the
the
food,
food,
like
baby
glyphosate,
food,
heavy metals, all of the
formula.
above. Absolutely. And it that's the thing, that it's a modifying genes. And it's like once you realize that, it's like, whoa, and it's just sad that people still hold on to like protecting autism. I feel like people do this to autism. Like this is my
Yeah,
baby autism. You know what? I
I
have to
can't.
protect and defend it. How about the child behind?
Yeah,
Because that's,
that's
yeah, it's not.
why That's why I've always separated. My son is separate from the autism that makes him struggle. Separate,
Yes.
they're not the same.
No.
And that's why I'm trying to help him so we can get who Kyla really is, because
His true
I know in
personality,
there.
right?
Yes.
And I mean, I saw it with my daughter when I took her with Dr. Bora at Neuroactive for a 1 week intensive where he does like laser work, which targets inflammation, the mitochondria, all those things, plus neuroplasticity and crossing the right left like hemispheres and so many things. And combined with everything that I'm doing with our match doctor, I saw who she is, her personality. There was no dysregulations. She was her happy self, stimming here or there. Yes, I'm not trying to take that away if it goes away in the process, because some kids stim if they're in pain, if they're
Yeah.
anxious or whatever. But she was calm. She was happy. It was the first time I saw who she is, reading her books, giggling, wanting to interact. That is what I'm fighting for. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And that's the thing. Like, we're people say, oh, you're trying to cure your child and that's who they are, you can't do that. No, I'm not. That's not their personality. I'm trying to bring her personality out and help her with the dysregulations, with the discomfort, with the suffering. And I just feel that people are just so just lethally and blindly loyal to systems, including politics, because you
Yeah.
and I have been attacked when it comes to speaking of RFK, and right
Yeah.
away they think we're for one side or the other. I'm like, no, I'm for Jesus. And I can
Yes.
clearly see where things are right
Who's
and wrong
trying
on
to
both
help and
sides.
who's not, and that's it. Yeah.
Yeah. And honestly, with him, I saw when my daughter was like, he was another one that really confirmed everything that I always knew years ago when she's 10 now, but she was, I think, like probably like 3. And I saw a video on YouTube of him giving his testimony about why he went this route, that there was a mom that he knew that kept going to his house, knocking on his door and wanting to show him paperwork and to show him, hey, like, I think the MMR or the vaccines caused my child's autism, but nobody believes me. And he was like, yeah, like, he was like, he didn't even take it serious. This mom, because once we're willing to fight, we fight. She was
Yeah.
going every day, ringing his doorbell, and it's someone he knew, like a mutual friend, calling him every day until he was like, okay, I need to check out what she has to say because she won't stop.
Yeah.
She dropped off studies, papers, a bunch of things. He said he started reading it and he was just like in shock. That's
Yeah.
what started his journey in this fight years ago. It wasn't now with the current
It wasn't
administration.
political. It wasn't political, right?
No,
He wasn't even
no,
with this political party back then.
exactly. He started because of a mom, because he listened to a mom, and that was years ago. And that's why he's been advocating and fighting against all this ever since. And people say he's not smart, he's not intelligent, he's not a doctor, but he has had that heart to fight for since many years ago.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I do pray. There's good and bad in everything, in every system, in politics,
Yes.
everywhere, in even in our groups of friendships here. Let's be
Yeah.
real, everywhere. And you have to have discernment for that. And I always pray that he just did anything and everything he could to get in, to try to make a
Yes.
difference,
And he
you
did.
know and
Yeah.
that's why I'm like, I had to share that story, that it all started with a mother and him listening to a mother, because I know you
Yeah.
got backlash for it, and I know I have too.
Yeah. Yeah.
But guess who
But
doesn't listen to moms? Mainstream medicine or
oh,
pediatricians or doctors, but he did.
he did.
So
And that is awesome. And just to have someone like that is so helpful for us
yeah.
moms who feel, you know, nobody listens to us to our mother's intuition. I pray for a world where people believe mothers, where doctors believe mothers, because
Oh yes, that
that
world
will that
exists.
would
It
change everything.
exists in functional and biomedical medicine. I
Yes.
know, like, quick story on that is, when I went to Taka, there was a doctor that said the most powerful tool we use is you guys, the mothers. He's like, I trusted so much that I had a mom that had a dream. And she said that in the dream, she heard or it told her that her child was struggling with this. And she came to me and she's like, hey, doctor, I had a dream. And this is what in the dream, I heard. And he's like, I know it sounds crazy because it's a dream. Are you willing to check it? And he's like, I checked it. And guess what? She was right. It's like,
That's
so
my
don't
kind of
ever,
doctor. Oh my
yes, don't ever
goodness.
underestimate your intuition,
Because
because
I'm that
there's
kind of mom.
doctors. Yeah. I've had dreams too where I've had to bring stuff up like that. And you have to trust it. And a lot of biomedical functional medicine doctors, especially those that have been working with our kids for years. I mean, if autism wasn't this, then those organizations wouldn't exist.
Yeah.
MAPS, Medical Academy of Pediatrics and Special Needs, TACA, the Autism Community in Action, all those doctors, they would not exist if this was not real. So
Yeah.
there is doctors out there like that. It's just pharma doesn't support them and insurance doesn't either because they don't make the system money.
Yeah, and that's what tells you everything because they're
Yeah.
doing what they need to do. Insurance is not supportive. Oh, it makes me so mad. Thank you so much for sharing.
No, you're welcome.
And just so informative. And I just feel with you, I just always feel so seen, and just I love your genuine personality. You're just such a light, and I love that you listen to the spirit to, share what God has. I feel like this is your mission, really.
Now what I wanted, but we don't pick them.
You don't pick. Yeah, you don't pick. I know that. Oh, I do. But I'm thankful that you are, God has strengthened you to be able to stand up for what you know is right and true. And you are fighting for your daughter. And you have become this person that people can look up to. I know that there's so many people who have, who are against what you're sharing, but I know what you're sharing is helping a lot of people.
I hope
and
so.
That is what is important. And never give up, because I look up to you, and I'm just like, you're seeing you be strong has helped me also, come on. I feel like you've noticed like me strengthening myself up to come out.
That's who you are. But again, like you say, the enemy attacks us in the areas where he makes us think we're not good enough, because that's actually where we are the strongest. So I'm so proud of you for that. And it's a very painful journey, but if it helps just one mom, one person not go through what we've been through, that's the goal. And especially investigate before puberty, because you have no idea what puberty can do. It's very scary, very sad. And no mom ever regrets looking deeper. We just regret not looking deeper sooner. So that right there is the whole mission here.
Yes. Oh, thank you so much. Oh, I forgot to ask you. I know we're a little bit past time, but I want to ask you a question that I always ask every parent at the end of the interview. What is something that is Layla, right?
Leah. Layla is my oldest, and the sibling, and then Leah is my autistic daughter.
So what is something that she's taught you about life? That they both have taught you about life. So both,
You know what? Honestly, to not give up. Despite everything, and like personally, for example, when my mom passed away suddenly and unexpectedly, the only reason I got up was because of her, because she needed me. She needed me no matter what. And she's the one that literally, her and God, just got me out of the water to get up. I didn't have a choice. So she has taught me to get up no matter what, and to never give up. And no matter how many times I break, that I can always get back up, and I will get back up stronger, and with just a deeper understanding of what really matters.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. And I love how our kids can do that for us, right?
Yes.
Knowing that they need us gives us that strength to continue to go on.
Absolutely. And they keep us going on.
Yes, they do. Thank you so much. This was amazing. And I'm just
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for tuning in today. If you haven't yet, please consider subscribing to the channel so you can get notified whenever I post new episodes. Until next time.